And just checking in on Facebook shares right now because yet another company has signed on to the hashtag Stop Hate for Profit campaign. Facebook shares are actually down 3% at the moment, so falling along with the market. But the new company signing on is Ben and Jerry's, which says it's going to stop all advertising on Facebook and Instagram on July 1st. Melody, this little movement here really seems to be gaining some momentum because we now have half a dozen or so companies that have decided they're going to do this.
Yeah, just to give you some context, it's Eddie Bauer, Patagonia, the North Face, REI, Upwork, Ben& Jerry's is the sixth kind of big company to pull ads on Facebook and Instagram somewhat for the foreseeable future. I just want to point out, though, that hate has been a problem for the Facebook empire since the beginning of time. I remember even 4 years ago, I wrote a story about some viral post that was fake news. And when ESPN, GoPro, all of them were notified of this fake story about them, they said, we think consumers are smart enough to differentiate between fake news or something that is just trying to spur hate and the reality. Clearly, that has not been the case as the stakes have gotten higher, right? As a lot of false information, whether it's regarding coronavirus or the Black Lives Matter movement, have gained a lot of traction on Facebook, and they tend to perform the best, right, out of anything that perhaps is more nuanced or complex. So I think, to your point, this is a movement. I have to show a little bit of cynicism because we have seen in the past advertisers pulling because of consumer pressure, whether that's on the Fox News channel with the Ingram angle and the like. But then what do? They just reallocate those funds to a different program on the show. So TBD on whether this will be a long-standing change.
On the other hand, when we first started talking about this on The Move last week and then on Monday as other companies were pulling out of Facebook, the question we were asking and still need to know is, it's one thing to say you're going to do this, but what's the actual dollar figure? What does this cost Facebook? And they're not releasing that to us, right? I mean, money talks. And if you're hurting Facebook with this, then maybe you might get change. But if you weren't really that big an advertiser to begin with, Facebook is going to just brush you to the side.
Can I just add, Facebook to me seems impervious to external pressure for a couple of reasons. Number one, it's basically a monopoly and it keeps making money, minting money practically. And look at the stock price. I mean, it's, a fraction below an all-time record. So Mark Zuckerberg just has money behind him. That's his tailwind. And I think that's why he can just snub his nose at all of these reform efforts.
I'm also not certain how much these various companies were advertising already on Facebook. I don't know. I don't know if you guys have ever gotten served a Ben & Jerry's ad or an REI ad on Facebook. Maybe they were doing some. But, on the other side, I would say, though, Melody, that many of these companies that have come out as part of this, they already have a history of activism, right? Whether you're talking about Ben & Jerry's, which is a B Corp, which is a certification that sort of means you're considering the full community and all stakeholders, even though it's a part of Unilever, it's a B Corp. You've got REI, which is a co-op owned by its members. You've got Patagonia, which has a long history of activism as well. The question for me is also how far it's going to spread, right? If you have these companies that are already activist companies that are doing this, there's perhaps only more credibility if other companies that don't necessarily have that history start signing on.
And Julie, they're activist companies with activist consumers, right? So there obviously is a certain amount of alignment and pressure that they can't ignore, because if they're purporting all of the things you mentioned about eco-friendly, trying to make sure the world is a better place, then of course it would be extremely hypocritical to say, hey, we're ignoring all of the signs and continuing to fuel this profit machine. I want to point out that even Unilever, as you mentioned, the parent company of Ben & Jerry's, in an interview with the Journal this week, a spokesperson said it wasn't actually prepared to take drastic action against Facebook. I think the exact quote was, walking away is not the solution at this stage. So that just shows even the sort of diversity in individual brands that want to appear to remain independent, and Ben & Jerry's for the most part has been successful in doing so. But that just shows, again, it's reshuffling money. A lot of the time it's going to be dedicated to perhaps heavily towards Instagram or another Unilever brand like Talenti Gelato, where it doesn't have that kind of core activist group that maybe the ad dollars will go right there. So yes, even with the Facebook advertising stream so far, over the last couple of years, we have seen companies like Procter & Gamble say that it hasn't actually been fruitful for them to continue investing in it. So it does make a lot of sense to me that there could be a lot of factors here.
Hey investors, Zach Guzman here. Are you interested in learning more about the markets and getting the latest financial news? Well, then click right here to subscribe to our Yahoo Finance YouTube channel. Get the latest up-to-the-minute market analysis, big interviews in the world of finance, and information on how to manage your money every day wherever you are.